Today's spiritual reading is entitled, Big Things from Small Beginnings. And I thought about this and I thought about the mustard seed. The plant referred to in the story about the mustard seed is generally considered to be black mustard, a large annual plant up to 9 feet, but growing from a proverbial small seed. The smallness is also used to refer to faith in Matthew chapter 17, verse 20, and Luke chapter 17, verse 6. According to rabbinical sources, Jews did not grow the plant in gardens. And this is consistent with Matthew's description of growing it in a field. Luke tells the parable with the plant in a garden instead. This is presumably recasting the story for an audience outside the Levant. I. Howard Marshall writes that the parable suggests the growth of the kingdom of God from tiny beginnings to worldwide size. The parable of the leaven, which in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke immediately follows, shares this theme of large growth from small beginnings. As with the parable of the sower, which in Matthew and Mark occurs earlier in the same chapter, the man sowing the seed represents Jesus, and the plant is the kingdom of God. New Testament scholar Adolf Schuler viewed the parable of the mustard seed as a similitude, or an extended simile, metaphor, that has 3 parts: a picture part, a reality part, and a point of comparison. The picture part is the mustard seed that grows into a large plant. The reality part is the kingdom of God. And the point of comparison is the growth of the kingdom from small beginnings. The nesting birds may refer to Old Testament texts, which emphasize the universal reach of God's empire, such as Daniel chapter 4, verse 12. However, a real mustard plant is unlikely to attract nesting birds, so that Jesus seems deliberately to emphasize the notion of astonishing extravagance in his analogy. Other commentators have suggested that the birds represent Gentiles seeking refuge with Israel, or the sinners and tax collectors with whom Jesus was criticized for associating. A few commentators view the birds negatively as representing false teachers invading the church. Some have identified a subversive and scandalous element to this parable, in that the fast-growing nature of the mustard plant makes it a malignant weed with dangerous takeover properties. Pliny the Elder, in his Natural History, published around AD 78, writes that mustard is extremely beneficial for the health. It grows entirely wild, though it is improved by being transplanted. But, on the other hand, when it has once been sown, it is scarcely possible to get the place free of it. As a seed, when it falls, germinates at once. Ben Witherington notes that Jesus could have chosen a genuine tree for the parable, and that the mustard plant demonstrates that, though the dominion appeared small, like a seed, during Jesus' ministry, it would inexorably grow into something large and firmly rooted, which some would find shelter in, and others would find obnoxious and try to root out. We are a small church. Come to our worship service on June 7th and watch us grow.